feel like we've taken enough time to get some background information on the bombing of Hiroshima. We watched the brain pop yesterday. We watched thank you so much. We watched another, the other video as well. So I feel like, we have a good idea of what happened, why it happened. So now we're gonna move on to task 1. If you go to your, let me just kind of walk you through it. I don't want you doing anything, but I need your eyes up here because there's multi-step instructions for how to do this correctly, okay? So you're going to go to assignments, and this is still pretty new for me because you know how I like doing paper copies, so putting up here was an experiment for me as well, but it worked well last period. So what you might want to do is up here, make sure you're in quarter 4, because I did make the due date next Monday, so this would be the first grade that you start with next Monday for quarter 4, because it should be an easy grade if you do it correctly. Okay, so we're gonna hit this, okay, and then I've listed, and I'll put this part on the board so you don't have to keep going up and down on your screen. I've listed what you're supposed to do in your article, okay? So we're gonna highlight the central idea in yellow. You're going to find 4 supporting details to underline. You're going to highlight 4 keywords or unknown words or important words, okay? So it could be a word you don't know, or it could be a word that is important, like atomic bomb. That's what we're talking about. So that could be something you highlight because that's key words for this article. Write 1 question that you have about the text, so any question that you have. There's no right or wrong answer for a question that you personally have. Star 1 important piece of information, something that stood out to you. Identify the author's tone and write it in the margin, and I'll explain more on that one in a minute. And then write an objective summary statement. So you're going to put the author, her name's Jessica McBurney, a verb, what is she doing? Explaining, detailing, telling, describing, and then what is she talking about? What's the whole article about? Okay, if the title of the article is the bombing of Hiroshima, what do you think it's about? The bombing of Hiroshima, right? Okay, so that could be your summary sentence. Okay, so I'm going to put it in student view. So this is what you'll see. Okay, so there are your requirements, and you're going to scroll down right here. Okay, and if I did this correctly, it should work. So here's your article. Okay, when you're done doing everything, all the requirements that I just read to you, you'll hit submit. Okay, now this is what I was not able to figure out how to do on the board. I played around with it and I just couldn't figure out how to show you what to do. So I'm gonna have to go to my desk to show you this part. I will say the highlighting is super sensitive and you have to go very, very slowly, like sentence by sentence. Where do you think, not even having read the article yet, where do you think, if I'm looking for the central idea, the main idea, where do you think that's going to fall? And we're not counting this gray box, but where do you think, logically, my central idea is going to be? Right, it's only going to be in the first paragraph. So if we read this, and we're looking at this first sentence, usually your first sentence or 2 is a good indication of the central idea. Okay, so I'm going to go to the computer. I'm going to show you the 3 tools that you're going to use because I just can't figure out how to do it up here. So your eyes need to stay on the board, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through. If I'm asking you to highlight, okay, see right here where it says highlight? Y'all see that? We're going to click that, click yellow, okay, and then see how it has that little, looks like a capital I? You have to go very, very, very slowly, okay? Line by line. See, now see how that did, if I went too far and it did more? So you gotta be super, super careful, okay? Now if I mess up, I'm like, that's not what I wanted. You have a trash can, and you just click the trash can, then hit OK. But you have to do it line by line. Then hit OK. Got it? If I've asked you to underline something, you're gonna go to the paintbrush, okay? Any color that you want, and I think doing it on the thinnest line is good. So if I ask you to underline an important detail, go to that, and maybe you'll be neater than I am, but you just, oh, Lord have mercy. And you just try to underline, okay? But again, if I messed up and I was like, oh, that's awful, you can delete it, okay? Now, the biggest thing up here, when I said like write or star, identify the tone, write an objective summary, that's where you're gonna use the balloon, okay? So if you don't want to, like, again, you could use the paintbrush to star something, it's just gonna look really, it's gonna be really, like, awful. And that's okay. But if you're making a note of one of these things where I said to write or identify something, you're gonna hit the balloon, and you can pick any color, okay? And let's say I wanna do my objective summary, I could come down here, click my balloon, and write my objective summary right here, okay? If I mess up, I just hit the delete button, or that little trash can button, and it will ask if I wanna do it, and I just say okay. You can delete anything that you think you might have messed up on, but your three main buttons are the balloon to make notes, to type something, highlights right here, and anything you wanna underline or star you can do with this paintbrush. When you're done, you will scroll down and you'll click submit, and it will copy everything that you did to Canvas for me to grade, okay? Well, I don't know how it saves, so our goal is to get it done today. That's our goal, okay? We can take the time, if you think it will help you, we could take the time to read it together if you think that's gonna help. But you have the article literally right in front of you. So if you want a hard copy of the article to have next to you as you work on the assignment, you can get a hard copy, but kind of changed my mind. I think it would be good practice, knowing that milestones are coming up, I think it would be good practice for you to try to read it by yourself. Because I'm not gonna be able to read with you for milestones. So let's just practice reading it by ourselves. If you get to a part where you just have no idea what it's talking about, then I'll come and I'll explain it to you. But you can take a hard copy, don't write on it, but you can take a hard copy and pull it up on your computer. But obviously, what do you need to do first before you start anything? What do you have to do?
Read it.
You have to read it. Yeah, we're not writing on these. You have to read it first to understand what you're going to be making notes on. Okay? So what you can do is go on and pull up Canvas, go to assignments. Again, you might need to pull up quarter 4. Okay? Pull up quarter 4, and it's called Unit 5, Task 1, the bombing of Hiroshima. Colby already has it pulled up. Thank you, Colby. Okay, so again, if it's too small to read on the computer, just come up here and get a hard copy, because I think this might be a little bit easier to read. And then I'll be walking around and helping as needed, okay? Do y'all have any? If you have questions, raise your hand and I'll help you. You can also annotate as you go. When you see something important, underline it.
Alright, so we just watched your video of you implementing the annotation tool on Canvas, and I just wanted to talk about like how you think that it went.
I think overall, it being my first time, it went well. I definitely can improve. I feel like I talked too much about it.
Like during like the instructions?
Yeah, like watching the video, I was like, oh my god, I didn't realize I talked that much. and just where you were, I could kind of see them tuning out a little bit. But
Okay.
then when I feel like when I actually showed what to do, my biggest concern that I had, you did it correctly when you showed it to me, but I had trouble actually doing the tool on the board. I had to come around to the computer
Yeah.
and do it. But when you showed me, it was fine, but I don't know what I did wrong, but I couldn't really stop in the middle of the lesson and try to figure it out. So I just did everything from my computer, like I showed them how to highlight and stuff like that. I wish I could have done it on the board, like how you did it. So I don't know what I did wrong.
These new boards, because I mean they are new, they're very
Yeah.
finicky. I've had problems with doing it on the board before. I
Okay.
think it was just a good day whenever
Right.
I showed you how. But no, I've done the same thing before where
Okay.
I've had to like walk over to my computer and sit down and like show them that
Okay.
way instead of like being up at the front.
Right.
So
And that was the only thing that I was like, it was kind of frustrating. You know how sensitive the boards are. So
Oh.
I don't know if I was touching it wrong, but like you said, it is kind of finicky. But they still were able to see how to do it. The rubric was like having that checklist at the top was really, really helpful. And just having it all on one, like, it would have been a packet, so they would have to flip and back and forth. So just having it right there where they could just scroll up and down and everything was right there, I think was really helpful. So I'm glad that that's what we focused on to help me integrate the, more technology. I'm glad that that was my first lesson.
it felt more streamlined.
Yes.
Like for
Yes.
the kids, because I agree, like in the past when we've done annotations on articles, they're flipping back and forth, and
Right.
they have the rubric over here, and then their packet over here, and
Right.
5,000 highlighters or whatever it is, and
Right.
it's just a hot mess express. So I think this helped streamline it a lot.
Absolutely.
Do you, based on like how it went, did you have more students finish quick? Since I wasn't here for like the
Mhm.
turn-in process, did you have more students turn it in like on time versus having it to take like a couple extra days?
Yeah, it was weird
or-
how much faster it went
Okay.
on Canvas.
Yeah.
And not having to go through all these packets and flipping pages for me to grade.
Mm-hmm.
I could just scroll and grade it using the rubric right there, and it's immediate feedback. So it did go a lot faster, and they also turned it in on time.
That's
lot
awesome.
Better than than the paper.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, it worked really well.
Cool. Well, from my end, I like watching the video, and obviously I was in class with you that day.
Mhm.
I thought it went great.
Thank
I
you.
mean, they tune out, but I think they
Right.
tune out regardless of what we're doing. So,
True. That's true.
you know, they're middle schoolers. So I think, don't discredit yourself too much. I
Okay.
think that once they had the opportunity to hop on
Mhm.
and like actually start doing it, they seemed engaged.
Yes,
And they
I agree.
seemed, I don't want to say excited, but they seemed more into it than
Mhm.
if you had been passing out packets
Right.
of articles.
Right. I totally agree.
So that was exciting. And I mean, they hopped on it pretty quick.
Mhm.
You did give a lot of instructions. There was a lot of like direct, like this is what you do, this is what you do. But they seemed to pick it up really well.
They really did. I mean, and I don't think they'd ever done it before because nobody said like, oh yeah, I've done that, So I think it was new for all of us, but I need to shorten my directions and be quicker with
Mhm.
this, and the good thing is next time we do it, they'll already know it, and
Yeah.
I won't have to give as many, but I'm also very verbal and wordy, so I know I said more
same.
than I needed to because that's why we teach language arts. But I can shorten it, but they pick it up a lot quicker than I would have thought.
Yeah.
Like they hopped, like you said, they hopped on right away.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of questions.
These kids are so technology driven.
Yes.
Like they know
Yeah.
more than us sometimes.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it was really cool to see how quickly they picked it up. And this was your co-taught class,
Mhm.
correct? So, like, even to see those students who might typically struggle with an
Yes.
assignment like this hop on and be able to identify those
Mhm.
things and annotate it, that was really cool to see.
And they it was, I wouldn't say an easy grade, but everybody passed, which is good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because they knew the expectations from using the tools and all that. So
Yeah.
it was really a great lesson.
That's awesome.
So I'm glad that's what we
awesome.
focused on.
Is there anything, because we talked about, or I gave you that checklist of
Yes.
like kind of step by step
Mhm.
what to do, how to do it, where to find things. After your implementation, like using that checklist,
Mhm.
do you feel like there's anything that we need to go back and edit to make the next time you do this more successful? Did you feel like it worked well?
I thought it worked well. I think I just need to maybe run through it one more time before, just for myself. But what we did and what you prepared for me was absolutely perfect. The checklist was great. We did a rubric. I think everything was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so
So
glad.
thank you for all that.
No,
I
you're
appreciate it.
welcome. That's what I'm here for. Is there anything that connected to this or not that you would like to add on to this goal? Because I feel like you've accomplished a very small goal of
Right.
technology integration. This is just one thing that you can add in to assignments throughout the year, and especially next year, since you know
Right.
how to do it, you can start the
Right.
year with it, and you won't have to explain on directions again. But
Right.
are there anything else that you'd like to add to this goal for integrating more technology?
There was something that we had talked about maybe in passing about some Adobe program with the PDFs.
Yeah.
So that would really be something I need to learn how to do. Because I do a lot of PDFs, and a lot of times it's like I don't want every page, or I want it this way and I can't edit it. So that would be something I think would be really beneficial to learn about next. I feel good about the Canvas tool and the annotating tool. I feel good about that. Next time I'll just run it through again and see if I can do it on the board. If the board's having a good day. But the Adobe thing I would really like to
Okay,
to
absolutely.
that,
We
'cause I
can
think
add
would be
that.
great.
We can totally add that in.
Okay.
Just kind of like to the bottom of that little checklist.
Okay.
Before we officially say we've reached our goal, which I think we kind of have reached our
Right.
goal
Agreed.
of integrating technology. It's not a ton, but
Mhm.
I think it adding on that piece would be, that Adobe piece would be super beneficial, because once you have that, there's so many things that you can do
Right.
with it that
Right.
the integration will become so much easier for you.
Right.
So we can totally add that in and
Yeah,
come up
I
with
would like
some
that.
other times we can meet and work through that kind
Absolutely.
of stuff.
Yes, I would love
Cool.
that.
Cool. So I think this went really, really well.
I think so too.
I think you have some personal things that you want to
Mhm.
work on with the timing of how
Right.
long you're up at the board giving the instruction,
Mhm.
making sure that the board is working. I don't think that is, again, something you should harp on. I mean,
Right.
it happens. Technology is still very
Right.
finicky. So if you have to go to your computer, it's
Mhm.
not the end of the world. They
Right.
still understood
Right.
how to do everything. So
Right.
you've got your little checklist of
Yes,
things
I
that you
do.
want to work
Yes.
on, and I've got mine of
Okay.
coming up with how we want to tackle that Adobe
Okay.
goal. So I think this has gone really well.
Yes.
I hope you feel the same.
I do, and I appreciate all that you did to help me.
Awesome.
So thank